NFL draft boom or bust prospects. This from PFF. Wide receiver Xavier Worthy from Texas. Strength was an issue for Worthy at times throughout his Texas career. That was visible in the form of getting free from stronger defenders and press. Also, when securing catches, Worthy has the speed to be a major difference maker, but there's a baseline for strength that needs to be that is needed to succeed at the NFL level. Braden Fisk. Fisk incredible at both the Senior Bowl and NFL scouting combines this draft cycle. What makes him boom or bust? Lack of strength. Wingspan and arm length rank in the 5th and 3rd percentiles respectively for the position. Ultimately, we'll know more about the boom or bust potential based on where he is drafted. Worthy, I get what they're saying with the strength. He looks more like a football player who, can run fast than a track guy who's converted, at least to me, and I've seen him play quite a bit. Fisk, a lot of people make the question is, can he play with leverage? Joe Thomas will tell you he wasn't the strongest offensive lineman, but he was moving guys around because he played with really good leverage and understood that.
Yeah, these are both players that we were actually talking about before they tested at the combine, based on their merits on the field, based on their tape. But the difference is we're talking about at pick 54 or pick 85. The difference is now that Worthy's put that 4.21 the combine, he may get overdrafted. And that's where the bust factor comes in. If he gets launched into the end of the first round, the potential for bust is much bigger. If you get picked in mid, day 2, that mitigates itself. But based on what Worthy can do, just to your point, he doesn't have those growing pains as a track guy converting. He tracks the ball really well. He does lack a little bit of play strength because he's light, but you find ways to utilize that kind of guy and get him free releases and get him deep. You have to have realistic expectations when you bring a player like that in, but you do that because of that upside. That 4.21 speed was apparent on tape. It wasn't just because he practiced really hard at the 40-yard dash. That kid has true, legit, third-level, mind-blowing speed, and that may get him overdrafted, and in that case, he could end up being a bust. But if he gets slotted properly and falls to a team day 2, maybe even beginning at day 3, depending on because this is a deep wide receiver class. Even with that speed, he's probably still not a top 10 receiver in this draft. But Fisk is a different one. I think his age kind of gets him out of where we would pick him at 54, but some teams want to take a shot on those traits. And his tape's fine. Crazy good motor, relentless, does sometimes lack leverage, has a good punch at the line of scrimmage, can get caught hand fighting. There's enough there to keep him out of the first round. So I feel much more comfortable saying that he will be slotted appropriately and be given a chance to develop without all the crazy expectations. But based on how they did test, that expectation for them to be a performer might be there sooner than it needs to be.
So let me ask you this about Fisk. Fisk is, you mentioned, older. The Browns may have to tweak their guardrails just based on NIL and lack of underclassmen coming out because the guys are staying in college because they can make a couple $100,000 in NIL.
Yeah, that definitely has to play into it. I just think it's always going to be, no matter what, I think it's going to be a tiebreaker situation. If there's more than one prospect they're in on, they'll probably go towards the younger the majority of the time. The problem with Fisk is I think he is going to go in that second round range, and I think there will be plenty of younger prospects still available who are going to play their entire rookie season at age 21 or 22, and I think that's what pushes him off the Browns board. Now, if it was 85, that might be a different scenario, but that's something we have to see as this plays out with NIL and the COVID year that pushed everyone to be like super seniors. At what round do they bend those guardrails? It definitely hasn't been on day 2 as of yet. You've seen them do it into day 3. But as this holds up and players are staying in college longer, they may have to bend on day 2 eventually.
Yeah, and you mentioned Worthy kind of being overdrafted. John Ross is the guy whose time he beat, and Ross just never made it. But I remember Ross at Washington, and I remember thinking, he's kind of not really a football. Worthy looks more like a football player to me than John Ross did.
Yeah, he looks more comfortable in the balls in the air. He does have a little bit of lack of concentration with some of his drops, but it's not fundamental. It's not like fish out of water type scenario, like mentioned with John Ross, and that time got him pushed up in the first round early. Now, I don't think that will happen to Worthy. I still think that if he goes in the first, it would be towards the very end of the first. But there are definitely applicable traits that he has as a receiver that have nothing to do with his speed, you know. But there are certain things that he's going to have to work on to develop. That play strength, getting off press man coverage, those type of things will be what slows his development down. But if he can go to a team that just needs him to run go balls to start off his career, that would be a blessing in disguise because that's something he can do day one.